I've met millionaires who've lost everything, and I've watched them rebuild their fortunes in just a few years. I've seen businesses burn to the ground, only to rise again bigger and better. I've witnessed people lose their homes, their cars, their bank accounts, and still come back strong. But here's what I've never seen, not once in all my years. I've never seen anyone get back a single wasted hour. Not one. Think about that for a moment. Money comes and goes. Opportunities circle back around. Relationships can be mended. But time moves in only one direction, and it never, ever reverses course. Let me tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. Right now, at this very moment, you're spending the most valuable currency you'll ever possess, and most people treat it like pocket change. They throw hours around like they're throwing pennies into a fountain, making wishes, hoping something magical will happen. Meanwhile, the truly successful people, the ones who figured out this game of life, they guard their hours like a banker guards the vault. They know something that took me years to understand. Your life isn't measured in years, it's measured in how you use your hours. I remember when I was 25 years old, working at the department store, and my mentor, Mr. Schae, asked me a question that changed everything. He said, "Jim, if you had a bank account and someone deposited $86,400 into it every single morning, but the catch was, you had to spend it all that day or lose whatever you didn't use, what would you do?" Well, I nearly jumped out of my chair. I told him I'd spend every single dollar carefully, purposefully, making sure none of it went to waste. He smiled at me with that knowing look he had and said, "Son, you have exactly that. 86,400 seconds get deposited into your life account every morning when you wake up, and every night at midnight, whatever you haven't invested wisely is gone forever. So tell me, are you spending your seconds as carefully as you'd spend those dollars?" That conversation hit me like a freight train. Here I was, treating my time like it was infinite, like there would always be more where that came from, while I'd count every dollar twice before spending it. The truth is, most people have this completely backward. They'll argue with a cashier over a $2 overcharge, but they'll waste 2 hours watching television shows they don't even enjoy. They'll drive across town to save $5 on groceries, but they won't invest 5 minutes planning their day. It's absolutely fascinating when you think about it, this strange relationship we have with our most precious resource. Let me break down the mathematics of a human life for you, because numbers don't lie and they don't flatter. If you live to be 75 years old, you get about 27,375 days. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But here's the reality. You'll spend roughly 25 years sleeping. That's necessary. That's fine. I'm not arguing with that. You'll spend about 3 years just eating meals. You'll spend 7 years in the bathroom. You'll spend 5 years waiting in lines and sitting in traffic. Add in the time you spend sick, the time you spend doing mundane tasks you can't avoid. And suddenly those 75 years shrink down to maybe 20 or 25 years of actual discretionary time. 25 years to build a life, create a legacy, achieve your dreams, and become the person you're capable of being. 25 years. And most people waste 20 of them. Here's what I've learned after all these years of studying success and failure. The difference between people who build extraordinary lives and people who settle for ordinary ones isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even opportunity. It's what they do with their hours. Successful people have the same 24 hours you have. They face the same interruptions, the same distractions, the same temptations to waste time. But somewhere along the way, they made a decision. They decided that their hours were too valuable to spend on activities that didn't move them forward. They decided that every day was too important to leave to chance. I'll never forget the conversation I had with a man at one of my seminars. He came up to me during the break, frustrated, angry even. He said, "Jim, this is all well and good for you to talk about, but you don't understand. I work 60 hours a week. I've got a family. I've got responsibilities. I don't have time for all this personal development stuff you're talking about." I looked at him and asked, "How much television do you watch?" He stammered a bit and said, "Well, I don't know, maybe a couple hours a night, but that's how I relax." I said, "So you're telling me you don't have time to invest in yourself, but you have 14 hours a week to watch other people pretend to live interesting lives on a screen?" The look on his face told me everything I needed to know. He'd never actually thought about it that way. See, here's the thing about time that most people miss. You're not actually too busy. You're just busy with the wrong things. You've got time for everything that's truly important. You've got time to exercise. You've got time to read. You've got time to plan. You've got time to learn a new skill. You've got time to build a business. You've got time to strengthen your relationships. What you don't have time for is everything. You don't have time to do the important things and watch 3 hours of television and scroll through social media for another 2 hours and hang out with people who drain your energy and say yes to every request that comes your way. You've got to choose. And this is where we get into the real heart of the matter, spending time versus investing time. When you spend time, it's gone and you've got nothing to show for it. Entertainment is spending time. Gossip is spending time. Worry is spending time. Complaining is spending time. But when you invest time, you get a return. Reading is investing time. Exercise is investing time. Planning is investing time. Learning is investing time. Building relationships with people who make you better is investing time. The question you've got to ask yourself about every activity is simple. Is this an investment or an expense? I started asking myself that question every single day when I was 25 years old, and it revolutionized my life. Before that, I was like most people, just drifting through my days, doing whatever seemed urgent or whatever felt good in the moment. I'd come home from work, flip on the television, and the next thing I knew it was midnight and I couldn't remember what I'd watched or what I'd accomplished. My life was just happening to me instead of me happening to my life. But once I started treating my hours like investments, everything changed. I started reading 30 minutes every day. I started planning my next day every evening. I started saying no to activities that didn't serve my goals. And within 5 years, my entire life had transformed. The tragedy is that most people never have this awakening. They sleepwalk through their days, their weeks, their years, always planning to get serious about life later, when things settle down, later when the kids are older, later when work isn't so demanding, later when they have more energy. But here's the truth about later, it never comes. There's always going to be something demanding your attention. There's always going to be a reason to put off what's important. There's always going to be resistance between you and the life you want to build. The only question is, are you going to push through that resistance today, or are you going to keep telling yourself the same comfortable lies you've been telling yourself for years? Let me tell you what happens when you waste your hours. It's quiet. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and one day you wake up and you're 45 years old or 55 or 65, and you look back and wonder where it all went. You wonder why you never started that business you talked about. You wonder why you never wrote that book. You wonder why you never got in shape, never learned that language, never built that financial cushion you knew you needed. And the answer is always the same. You didn't treat your hours like they mattered. Your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when circumstances are perfect. Right now, this very hour, this very moment, your life is unfolding. The question is, are you present for it? Are you intentional about it? Are you making choices that your future self will thank you for? Because I promise you, 5 years from now, you'll arrive. The only question is where you'll arrive and who you'll be when you get there. And that's determined entirely by what you do with your hours between now and then. Now that we understand what we're dealing with, let's talk about what to do about it. Because awareness without action is just another form of waste, isn't it? You can know everything there is to know about the value of time, but if you don't change how you use it, that knowledge is worthless. And this is where most people get stuck. They attend the seminars, they read the books, they nod their heads in agreement, and then they go right back to living the same way they've always lived. Why? Because they haven't grasped the fundamental philosophy that separates those who master their hours from those who remain slaves to the clock. Here's the philosophy in its simplest form. We must all suffer from one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. Let me explain what I mean. The pain of discipline is getting up an hour earlier when your bed feels so comfortable. It's saying no to the television show when you know you should be reading. It's planning your day when you'd rather just wing it. It's choosing the difficult conversation over comfortable silence. These things aren't easy, and yes, they require sacrifice. But they're light burdens compared to the alternative. The pain of regret, on the other hand, is looking back at a wasted decade and realizing you can never get it back. It's watching someone else live your dream because they were willing to put in the hours you weren't. It's facing financial hardship in your 50s because you didn't invest your time wisely in your 30s. It's broken relationships because you were always too busy for the people who mattered most. It's the haunting question that echoes in your mind at 3 a.m. What if I had actually tried? That pain doesn't go away. It accumulates. It compounds. And it gets heavier with every passing year. I knew 2 men who started working at the same company on the same day. Both were 23 years old. Both came from similar backgrounds. Both had the same opportunities. One of them, let's call him David, decided that every evening from 7 to 9 he would invest those hours in himself. He read books about his industry. He took correspondence courses. He studied successful people and modeled their habits. He worked on side projects that developed his skills. 2 hours a day. Every single day. His coworker, let's call him Michael, spent those same hours watching sports and sitcoms. He'd say things like, "Dave, you're missing the game." Or, "Come on, man, you've got to relax sometime." Fast forward 10 years, David was running his own division, making 5 times what he started at, and had multiple income streams from the skills he developed during those evening hours. Michael was still in roughly the same position he'd started in, complaining about how the company didn't appreciate him and how he never got a fair break. Same starting point. Same 24 hours in a day. Completely different outcomes. And the difference came down to a simple choice made every single evening: invest or spend. Here's what most people don't understand. Managing your hours isn't really about time management at all. It's about priority management. It's about deciding what matters and what doesn't. You see, everyone has the same amount of time, but not everyone has the same priorities. And your life will always move in the direction of your strongest thoughts and most consistent actions. If your strongest priority is comfort, you'll have a comfortable life, but probably not a significant one. If your strongest priority is entertainment, you'll be well entertained, but probably not well accomplished. But if your strongest priority is growth, progress, and contribution, then your hours will naturally align with those values. I learned this concept from a very successful business owner who told me something I've never forgotten. He said, "Jim, most people spend major time on minor things and minor time on major things, and then they wonder why their lives feel insignificant." Think about that. How much time does the average person spend on things that truly matter? I mean, really matter. The things that will define their life and legacy. Maybe an hour a day if they're disciplined. Maybe. The rest gets consumed by what I call the tyranny of the urgent. Answering emails that could wait. Attending meetings that accomplish nothing. Putting out fires that wouldn't exist if they'd planned better. Scrolling through feeds that make them feel informed but leave them unchanged. Meanwhile, the major things, the things that would actually transform their lives, get pushed to the margins. Spending real time with their children, not just being in the same house, but actually connecting. Building their health through consistent exercise and proper nutrition. Developing skills that would increase their value in the marketplace. Creating systems in their business instead of just working in their business. Reading the books that would expand their thinking. Having the difficult conversations that would heal their relationships. These are major things. These are the things that compound over time and create extraordinary results. But they're not urgent, so they get postponed indefinitely. Let me give you a specific example of how this works. If you read just 30 minutes a day, that's 3.5 hours a week, which is 182 hours a year. At an average reading pace, that's about 30 to 40 books a year. Do you realize what would happen to your life if you read 30 books a year for the next 5 years? You'd have consumed 150 books, while most people you know read maybe 5. The gap in knowledge, perspective, and capability would be enormous. But here's the thing. You've got the 30 minutes. Everyone does. The question is, what are you doing with it? I'll tell you what most people are doing with it. They're checking social media for the 15th time that day. They're watching videos of strangers doing things they'll never do. They're reading news about events they can't control. They're participating in group chats that go nowhere. And then they say they don't have time to read. See, it's not about having time. It's about making time for what matters by eliminating what doesn't. Now, let me show you something powerful about how time compounds. If you invest just 1 hour a day, every day, on a single skill or goal, that's 365 hours a year. That's 9 40-hour work weeks. That's more than 2 full months of focused effort on something that matters to you in 5 years. That's 1,800 hours. Do you know what you can become with 1,800 hours of focused practice? You can become an expert. You can master a language. You can build a business. You can write multiple books. You can transform your health completely. You can become a different person entirely. But it works the other way too. 1 hour a day of wasted time is also 365 hours a year of nothing. That's 1,800 hours of your life over 5 years that produce no growth, no progress, no results. 1,800 hours of television shows you barely remember. 1,800 hours of scrolling and clicking and consuming content that made you neither wiser nor better. When you think about it that way, when you really see the mathematics of it, how can you possibly justify wasting another hour? The truth is, your daily schedule is a reflection of your philosophy. Show me how someone spends their day, and I'll show you what they really value, regardless of what they say they value. We all say we value our health, but how many hours do we invest in it each week? We all say we value our families, but how many hours of genuine, undistracted presence do we give them? We all say we value financial security, but how many hours do we spend developing skills that would increase our income? Your calendar doesn't lie. Your calendar reveals your true priorities. And here's something else. How you spend your time is directly connected to your self-respect. When you waste hours, you're essentially telling yourself that your life doesn't matter enough to invest in it. You're saying that your potential isn't worth developing, that your dreams aren't worth pursuing, that your future isn't worth building. Every time you choose the easy path, the comfortable path, the path of least resistance, you're making a statement about how much you value yourself. And over time, that erodes your confidence, your motivation, your belief in what's possible. But when you protect your hours, when you invest them wisely, when you say no to good things so you can say yes to great things, something changes inside you. You start to respect yourself more. You start to believe in yourself more. You start to see yourself as someone who keeps commitments, who follows through, who does hard things. And that self-image becomes a powerful force that pulls you toward even better decisions, even stronger disciplines, even greater results. Success breeds success. And it all starts with how you choose to spend the next hour. So let's get down to the practical side of this, because philosophy without a plan is just interesting conversation. You need a system. You need a way to actually take control of your hours instead of letting them control you. And I'm going to give you the same system I've used for decades, the same system I've taught to thousands of people who've used it to transform their lives. It's not complicated, but it is powerful if you'll actually do it. Everything starts with the morning. The first hour of your day is worth more than any other hour because it sets the tone for everything that follows. You know what I've noticed? Show me someone who's lost control of their morning, and I'll show you someone who's lost control of their life. The morning is where you win or lose the battle. It's where you take charge or surrender charge. Most people wake up and immediately start reacting. They hit the snooze button 3 times. They grab their phone and start scrolling. They rush through breakfast. They race out the door, already behind schedule, already stressed, already defeated. And then they wonder why their whole day feels chaotic. Let me tell you about a corporate executive I knew who was making great money but felt like his life was falling apart. He was stressed, overweight, disconnected from his wife and kids, always exhausted. I asked him what his mornings looked like, and he told me he'd wake up at 6:30, check his email in bed, jump in the shower, grab coffee on the way to work, and hit the office running by 7:30. I said, what if you woke up at 5:30 instead and used that first hour completely differently? He looked at me like I was crazy. Jim, I'm already tired. I need that sleep. I said, you're tired because your life is out of control, not because you need more sleep. Try it for 30 days. He did. He started waking up at 5:30. First thing, before anything else, he'd spend 15 minutes reading something that inspired him or educated him. Then he'd spend 20 minutes exercising, even if it was just a walk around the neighborhood. Then he'd spend 15 minutes planning his day, identifying the 3 most important things he needed to accomplish. The last 10 minutes, he'd spend in quiet thought or prayer or meditation, whatever you want to call it, just being still and centered before the chaos began. 1 hour. That's all. After 30 days, he told me it was the most transformative month of his life. He had more energy, more clarity, more control. And he was getting more done in less time because he was starting each day with intention instead of reaction. That's what the morning ritual does. It puts you in charge. It tells your day what to do instead of asking your day what it wants from you. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Read, move your body, plan your day, center yourself. 30 minutes would do it if that's all you can manage. But you've got to protect it. You've got to treat it like an appointment with the most important person in your life, because it is. It's an appointment with your future self. Now, once you've won the morning, you need to know what you're actually trying to accomplish that day. And this is where most people fail. They've got these massive to-do lists with 37 things on them, and they spend all day busy but accomplish nothing significant. Here's what I do instead. Every evening, I identify 3 high-value activities for the next day. 3 things that, if I accomplish nothing else, would make the day a success. Not 30 things, 3. Because you can actually do 3 important things. You can't do 30. What makes something a high-value activity? It's something that moves you toward your most important goals. It's something that only you can do. It's something that has lasting impact, not just temporary urgency. For me, it might be writing for 2 hours, having a crucial conversation with a business partner, and developing a new program outline. Those are high value. Answering routine emails is not high value. Attending a meeting that doesn't need me is not high value. Reorganizing my desk is not high value, even though it might feel productive. Once you've identified those 3 things, you protect them fiercely. You do them first when your energy and focus are at their peak. You don't check email first. You don't scroll through news first. You don't handle the easy stuff first to warm up. You tackle the most important work first, and you give it your best hours. Everything else can wait. Everything else will wait. And if you do nothing else all day but complete those 3 high-value activities, you've had a successful day. Let me tell you the truth about multitasking, because people love to brag about how they can multitask. You can't. Nobody can. What you're actually doing is switching between tasks rapidly, and every time you switch, you lose time and mental energy. Studies show it can take 20 minutes to get back into deep focus after an interruption. 20 minutes. So if you're checking your phone every 15 minutes, you never actually reach deep focus. You spend your entire day in shallow work, wondering why you're exhausted but haven't accomplished anything meaningful. When you're working on something important, close the door. Work in focused blocks of time, maybe 60 or 90 minutes, then take a real break. But during that focused time, you're all in. One task. Full attention. That's where the magic happens. That's where you do your best work. That's where you make real progress. Now here's the habit that ties everything together, the evening review. Every night, before you finish your day, spend 5 minutes reviewing what happened. What did you accomplish? What did you learn? What would you do differently? What are tomorrow's 3 high-value activities? 5 minutes. That's all it takes. But those 5 minutes create continuity. They create learning. They create improvement. Without the review, you just repeat the same day over and over, making the same mistakes, missing the same opportunities. And then, once a week, you do a bigger review and planning session, Sunday evening or Monday morning, whatever works for you. You look at the week ahead. You identify your major objectives. You schedule your high-value activities. You see where potential conflicts or time wasters might show up. You prepare. Because the week doesn't just happen successfully by accident. You've got to design it. Here's what happens when you actually do this. When you truly take control of your hours and live with intention, everything changes. And I mean everything. Because time mastery isn't just about getting more done or being more productive. It's about becoming a different person. It's about building a life that means something. The first thing you'll notice is the ripple effect. When you master your hours, your relationships transform. Why? Because you're no longer operating from a place of scarcity and stress. You're no longer too tired, too busy, too distracted to be present with the people you love. I remember when I first started applying these principles, my wife noticed the difference immediately. I wasn't checking my watch during dinner. I wasn't thinking about work when I was with the kids. I'd actually planned time for them, real time, protected time, and that changed everything. See, your family doesn't need all your time, but they need some of your best time. And when you're in control of your schedule, you can give them that. Your finances change too. This is almost automatic. When you invest your hours in developing valuable skills, in building systems, in creating instead of just consuming, money follows. I've watched it happen over and over. Someone starts using their evenings to learn about investing, or to build a side business, or to develop expertise in their field, and within a year their income has increased significantly. Not because they worked more hours, but because they invested their hours differently. They stopped trading time for money and started creating value that compounds. But the deepest transformation happens inside you. When you keep commitments to yourself, when you do what you said you'd do, when you protect your priorities against all the urgent noise of daily life, you build something money can't buy: self-trust. You start to believe in yourself in a way you never have before. You look in the mirror and you see someone who follows through, someone who keeps their word, someone who's building something real. And that confidence, that self-respect, it changes how you show up in every area of your life. Let me tell you what you're really building with your hours. You're building character. Every time you invest in your future instead of indulging your present, you're building character. Every time you say no to distractions and yes to your priorities, you're building character. And character is what determines your destiny. Skills matter, knowledge matters, opportunities matter, but character is what allows you to capitalize on all of it. Think about the legacy aspect of this. Every single day, you're creating a track record. Your children are watching how you spend your time, your coworkers are watching, your friends are watching, and more importantly, you're creating patterns that will define the next decade of your life. The choices you make with your hours today, they're not isolated decisions. They're deposits into the person you're becoming. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll be living the accumulated result of how you spent your hours between now and then. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking about all the reasons this won't work for you. You've got a demanding job, you've got kids, you've got obligations, you've got circumstances. And I'm telling you, everyone has circumstances. Everyone has reasons why it's difficult. The question isn't whether you have obstacles. The question is whether you're going to let those obstacles determine your destiny, or whether you're going to work with what you've got and make something happen anyway. Here's my challenge to you. Commit to 90 days. 3 months. That's all. Design your ideal morning routine and protect it for 90 days. Identify your 3 daily high-value activities and complete them for 90 days. Do your evening review for 90 days. Eliminate your biggest time wasters for 90 days. Just 90 days of living with intention, of treating your hours like they matter, of being disciplined about what deserves your time and what doesn't. You know what will happen after 90 days? You'll have built momentum. You'll have created new habits. You'll have seen results. Your energy will be higher. Your productivity will be better. Your relationships will be stronger. Your bank account will probably be healthier. And you'll have proven to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can change, that you're not stuck being who you've always been. The signs that you're winning this battle are unmistakable. You wake up with energy and purpose instead of dread. You end your days feeling accomplished instead of wondering where the time went. You're making progress on goals that have been sitting on your list for years. People around you start asking what's different about you. You sleep better because you're not carrying the weight of wasted days and broken promises to yourself.